in a vibrant forest filled with towering trees and chirping birds, lived a humble woodcutter. This wasn't just any woodcutter, mind you. He was a man of steadfast honesty, a beacon of hard work, and a symbol of quiet contentment. Each day, as the sun peeked over the horizon, he'd set out to the forest, his trusty axe slung over his shoulder. With each swing, he'd chip away at the towering timbers, gathering just enough wood to sustain his simple life. But one fateful day, while chopping wood near the deep, mysterious river, disaster struck. His axe, slick with sweat and worn from work, slipped from his grasp and tumbled into the river's murky depths. His heart sank faster than the axe. This was his only means of livelihood, now lost forever to the river's embrace. With a heavy heart, the woodcutter sat down by the river, wondering how he could retrieve his axe. Suddenly, the river started bubbling, and out came a beautiful, shimmering water nymph. She looked kindly at the woodcutter and asked him why he wore such a forlorn expression. The woodcutter, surprised but not scared, shared his tale of the lost axe. Without a word, the nymph gracefully dived back into the river, re-emerging with a golden axe that glinted in the sun. "Is this your axe?" she asked. The woodcutter shook his head. "No, mine was an ordinary iron axe." Undeterred, the nymph dived again, this time resurfacing with a silver axe. "Perhaps this is yours?" she queried, but the woodcutter denied again. "No, that's not mine either." Finally, she brought up an old iron axe. The woodcutter's face lit up. "Yes, that's my axe," he exclaimed happily. Impressed by his honesty, the nymph gifted him the golden and silver axes too, vanishing back into the river. The woodcutter's neighbor, a greedy man, learned about his fortune and decided to try his luck. On a bright sunny day, the neighbor, filled with greed, decided to mimic the woodcutter's actions. He trudged to the river, and with a sly grin, he purposely tossed his axe into the shimmering water. He waited expectantly, hoping that, like his neighbor, he too would be visited by the kind nymph. Sure enough, the water began to swirl and churn, and the beautiful nymph appeared, holding a shiny golden axe. The neighbor's eyes lit up at the sight of the golden axe. Without a second thought, he pointed to the golden axe and claimed it as his own. His lips curled into a greedy smile, dreaming of the wealth that the golden axe would bring him. But the nymph, being wise and just, saw through his dishonesty. She knew that this man was not the honest woodcutter, but his greedy neighbor trying to trick her. Instead of rewarding his greed, she decided to teach him a lesson. With a disappointed frown, the nymph disappeared back into the river, taking the golden axe with her. She left the neighbor standing there, shocked and empty-handed. His dishonesty had cost him dearly. The greedy neighbor was left with no axe at all, having lost his only means of livelihood due to his dishonesty. Meanwhile, the honest woodcutter continued to live a happy, prosperous life. His days were filled with the kind of simple joys that money can't buy. The satisfaction of a hard day's work, the laughter of his children, and the peace that comes from living a life grounded in honesty. As the seasons changed, so did the woodcutter's life. His honesty had not only earned him the respect of his fellow villagers, but also the blessings of the river spirit. His crops flourished, his health was robust, and his family was growing. His life was a testament to the power of honesty, a beacon of light illuminating the path of righteousness. On the other side of the coin, we find the greedy neighbor. His dishonesty, rather than bringing him the wealth he so desired, led him down a path of ruin. His crops withered, his health deteriorated, and he found himself isolated from the community. His actions served as a stark reminder that dishonesty, no matter how well-intentioned, always leads to downfall. So what can we learn from this tale of two lives? It's simple, really. Honesty is a virtue that's always rewarded. It might not bring immediate riches or fame, but it will bring about a life filled with happiness, respect, and peace. And dishonesty? Well, it only leads to ruin. Remember, honesty is the best policy, and it always brings about good fortune in the end.